right, everybody, we are going to edit some of those folktale essays so you can see the process. Okay? Now, this is the document that kind of outlines what it is. There's some background information. Be sure to make sure that you read things out loud to yourself so that you can hear if it makes sense. Out loud is important. Topic sentence for each paragraph. That tells me what the entire paragraph is about. Make sure that you share the document with me and title it. Some of you have titled it incorrectly, and as a result, it makes it really difficult for me to find your documents. Please correct that. Properties of Folktales guide is attached to the assignment post. Oh my gosh, you should be using those. Paragraphs, it outlines what should be in each paragraph, except for my page didn't print off paragraph 4. It's all about fluff. Let's look at some ones that are already done. Now, I printed these off, and I did not take the time to write down whose names they are. So as we look at them, I don't know whose they are, but I know that you need to be using this document. This tells you the properties of folk tales. Don't forget, there's this whole section up here. All right, first essay we're going to look at. Set, ready to go. All right. I like tall tales the most out of all the folk tales. That is a wonderful topic sentence. It tells me what the entire essay is going to be about. I love this, that some of the tall tales are real and some fake or exaggerated. Right here, we should probably have the word some are fake or exaggerated. Also, because the people in stories like Johnny Appleseed, all right, we're going to get rid of the and change it to. Also because there are people in the stories, get rid of the, like, comma, Johnny Appleseed. He was a real person. Johnny Appleseed actually was a real person. Some of the stories were exaggerated, like Pecos Bill rode a tornado. Pecos Bill actually was not a real person. He was based more on the event of westward expansion and cowboys. My favorite tall tale is Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan is my favorite because he has a blue pet ox. A blue, comma, pet ox. He saved the ox from freezing to death. Paul was so tall, just like tall tales, comma. Some of the properties of tall tales are humorous endings, and they are also entertaining and informative. All of these fall into Paul Bunyan. Well, now we're going to rearrange that a little bit. We're going to say that Paul Bunyan, all of these fall into Paul Bunyan. We're going to say Paul Bunyan falls into all of these. So that sentence is going to get reworded a little bit. Now it says, do not mistake me, but Paul Bunyan is real. Okay, so that's actually not true. Paul Bunyan is not a real guy. He's based more on the event of clear-cutting manually all of those forests in the Midwest. So do not mistake me. We're going to say that, we're going to get rid of this whole portion right here. Paul Bunyan was not a real man. This is supposed to say exaggerated. Check that spell check there, folks. They exaggerated how tall Paul's height and his strengths. We're actually going to make sure that we spell things correctly here as well. And we're going to change that to abilities. My least favorite folktale, not is legends, are legends and myths. Those kind of go together. I do not like legends because all the pretend things are involved in legends. So this person doesn't like legends because legends are mainly made up. There's nothing exaggerated. There's nothing generally real about them. They are all made up stuff. So that's the piece that they're complaining about. But if you see, it's not worded very clearly in that sentence. But if you look at the next sentence, nothing is true scientifically. It all seems unbelievable. That is worded much better. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that entire sentence and then reread it. My least favorite folk tales are legends. We might say here, in legends, comma, nothing is true, comma, scientifically, it all seems unbelievable. Then they're going to continue on that process from there, all right? Editing. Make sure you take the time to reread what you've got. Let's look at another one that we've got to do some editing on. This one, I have no idea whose name it is because I didn't check before I printed them off. My favorite folk tales are tall tales. Wonderful topic sentence. I like tall tales the best because they are interesting and funny. They also have ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I enjoy that tall tales are based on everyday people and at the same time they have superhero abilities. My favorite tall tale is Paul Bunyan. I have no complaints about that first paragraph. Paul Bunyan is my favorite tall tale because it is funny. Paul was a super big, gigantic man. When he rolled over in his sleep, it caused earthquakes and waves. Paul had amazing strength. Let's make that an exclamation mark. He was also very fast. Paul could take down a forest of trees with one swing. Exclamation mark. Paul was so strong that he and his pet ox straightened a road. That's not true. What they did is they straightened a river. River. Those interesting things that happened in the story were typically funny to me. Well, we're going to get rid of typically. We're going to say were very. Now, this person, not a period, this person started off by saying that Paul Bunyan is very tall tale because it is funny. Paul Bunyan is blah, 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 blah. The fact that it's funny is, in fact, a property of a fairy tale. So they gave me the property of a tall tale. So they gave me the properties of a tall tale and then specifically cited those things. So the only thing that they're going to need to do here is Paul Bunyan is my favorite tall tale because it's funny. And then right there, they're going to want to put a sentence that says one of the common properties of a folk tale, specifically tall tales, is that they are funny. Then all this makes sense. You've got to make sure that you introduce it. So I like the idea of introducing the property and then adding specifically why. Third paragraph is supposed to be about which is not your favorite. My least favorite type of folk tales are myths. Myths are my least favorite because they usually talk about things like jealousy and greed. I would rather hear a funny story. All right, that sounds pretty good. I might ask for some specifics on this one, specifically what myths did we read or that you are aware of that use jealousy or greed. So talking about the properties and then specifically citing them is what we want to do on that one as well. Let's look at one. Let's look at two more. No. Let's look at one more. This one has been completely edited by me. This person and I actually know who this person is. We edited together. I went on their page with them. I made lots of comments. I made them go back and re-edit 4 or 5 times before they got to the completion portion. Took them a while to get there, but oh my gosh, did they get there. My favorite folk tales are fairy tales. One of my favorite fairy tales is Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood is very entertaining because there's so much action. Little Red Riding Hood is my favorite folk tale because every part is filled with action and suspense. The properties that make Little Red Riding Hood a fairy tale is there are good versus evil, there are animals, the good guy always wins, and it took place in the forest. Yeah, that'll work. The reason the forest is a very important place is because that's where Little Red Riding Hood met the big bad wolf. Little Red Riding Hood is the best fairy tale in the world. Okay, so we probably shouldn't have a capital letter there. My least favorite folk tales are tall tales because they have no lesson to learn and they exaggerate a lot. Also, it's about a person with powers and that makes them sound like the best person in the world. This portion right here is kind of clumsily worded, but it doesn't necessarily need to be corrected. It might be able to be written a little bit better, though. Tall tales are often based on a real person, but the story comes out a lot more exaggerated. Those are the properties of a tall tale, so it's nice that they included that portion there with the specifics. Last paragraph they did is, I love fairy tales even though they are fiction. There are many other stories that other people like, but I like Little Red Riding Hood the most. Fairy tales are the best tales in the world. Make sure you're taking the time to edit those, folks. I would really like completed essays today. If you can't manage it today, you can submit it to me tomorrow. Come Monday, these will be getting graded regardless of their level of completion. I hope there's some level of completion and just nothing done. Have a great morning, guys.